Okay, hi everyone, welcome back. In this update, we are going to check out Ondo's price charts and I'm going to tell you why, unfortunately, in Ondo, we do have a bit of an important problem. Now, before we get into all that, let me actually first cheer you up a bit because, in my opinion, the overall structures in the long term are actually quite bullish and optimistic since, in my view, this is 5 up into a correction for wave B and then another move up into our C leg, and this ABC on a higher degree is going to be into this wave W right in here, followed by an ABC. Generally, let's just say this. On a higher degree, a WXY by itself into R wave X. And then after this correction in Ondo is over, I do think we are going to go up once more in the mid to long term. But we are probably not going to go up in an impulsive manner. Odds are we're going to go up in form of an ABC. And for instance, this can be the coming bull run in Ondo and generally in the whole altcoin market in the next, let's say, 6 to 12 months. Followed by that, maybe this is going to be our bear market and this can be our next bull run. So as you can see, again, overall, in my view, the structures do look optimistic. However, in the short term, I don't really think I can say that. Why? Because if you remember the last time that we talked about Ondo, we were somewhere around these areas and the idea was that, well, okay, maybe there is a chance that we are having some sort of an impulse in here followed by a correction down, and we want to have another move on the upside in Ondo by about January 20th. And the main point back then, if you remember, came down to this very important cluster of support areas between, let's say, 38 to about 47.5 cents. And we said in an ideal scenario, we really like to get back above this level, do something like this, get back above it, do some slow choppy pullback, and then get a continuation of our move up. We said if we end up going under here and unfortunately lose this level, it's not necessarily going to be good news for us, and at that point maybe our move down is going to continue. So what happened? Unfortunately, we actually did get a bit of a move on the downside, and I think now we should probably argue this level is absolutely broken, and I was wrong about expecting maybe another move up by January 20th, and I will fully take responsibility for my mistake. Again, I was absolutely wrong, and I got stopped out of the long position that I opened right around these areas. I'm willing to admit that, no problem at all. Now, having said that, let's just go around these areas. Here's the deal. Right in here, in terms of classic TA, I'll be honest with you guys, I don't really see a whole lot of strong support and resistances. Also, in terms of Elliott waves, I'm not really sure if I have good news for you in that area either, because sure, you can say this is 1, this is 2, and then maybe like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave down into wave 3, correction for 4, and then another move down into wave 5. However, for the sub waves of your wave 5, what do you have in here? In my opinion, this is probably from the highs a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into 1, correction for 2, big move down into wave 3, and question, where is your wave 4 and 5? Well, unfortunately, odds are this is actually a correction structure for wave 4, meaning what? We are probably going to continue our move down into wave 5 right in here. And again, the fact that in here we really do not have a whole lot of strong supports also suggests, you know what, maybe we should expect a continuation of this downtrend, at least in the short term, maybe in the next coming week. So for now, let's be a bit bearish in Ondo as long as we're not proven otherwise. And when is it going to be that we are going to be proven otherwise? You probably know it. Whenever we see a very strong bounce back, and you might ask, well, okay, at that point, we have absolutely missed our final low. Yes, but not really, you see. Let's go around here. Okay. In terms of Elliott waves, if you want to be bullish on any chart, and for instance, you want to argue in here we are going to have our final low, let's consider this thing like a very important support area. Okay, fair enough. Then off of the lowest low, you have to witness, like we said earlier, a very strong bounce back in form of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave. Now, this specific scenario is called an impulse. Rules for it are, we should not have overlapping of the waves between R wave 2 and 4, and in any kind of 5 wave, R wave 3 should not be the smallest wave. Now, here's a very important point, and I need you to pay full attention to what I'm about to say. You see, after completing a 5 wave right around the highs is not actually a buy opportunity, since one way or the other, bullish or bearish, whether this is going to be just a trap or maybe a sign of final low being already in, one way or the other, after a 5 wave, we are actually going to have a move down. And even according to the most bullish case, this is going to be a relatively deep move on the downside. And if we are truly bullish, this move has to have certain characteristics. Chief among them is being what? You know it, being absolutely 100% slow and choppy. And timing wise, this has to take a considerable amount of time, more than this 5 wave on the upside takes. And okay, fair enough. If we in this phase identify all the correct structures, okay, this can be a buy opportunity for you. And pay attention, from here to about the absolute low, we really do not have a whole lot of distance, do we? That's why I want to argue, look, in any chart from any market, if you want to be bullish, just be patient and see, are we going to have off of a certain low, 5 wave up followed by a correction down? If we have it, fair enough, this can be a buy and specifically a beautiful long opportunity. And for example, your stop can be under the lows and your target, okay, if you want to only and only catch the next phase up, can be somewhere around the previous major pivot high. But I think you can actually set your target a bit higher, since Elliott's wave buys on a higher degree. Maybe this is going to be a wave 1, correction for 2, and was 6. Good move up into wave 3, 4, 5. And in terms of Elliott, we usually argue wave 3 is known to be quite a strong and sharp move on the upside. Hence why I said your target can be quite a bit higher than the height of our supposedly wave 1. So in Ondo, all you have to do right now is this. You have to be patient and see, are we going to have a very strong bounce back? And if we get it, great sign, but not a buy opportunity in here. Just be patient and see what the shape of our pullback down is going to look like. And if you identify the right subwaves, fair enough, this can be a beautiful buy opportunity. Now, there's actually a much more important problem in Ondo, and it actually comes down to tokenomics. You see, 3 weeks ago, I told you to maybe expect a move on the upside by about January 20th. Now, why is that date specifically matter to us? Because if you go on tokenomics.ai and you search Ondo, you realize that we actually had about, let's say, a couple of days ago, a major token unlock, and the circulating supply went from 3.4 billion tokens to all the way up here about 5.3 billion tokens, which is insane. This is essentially something like a 60-70% increase in circulating supply. And this is going to have certain effects. And the most important one is going to be this. In my view, this is going to put downward pressure on an asset that right now at least is not really getting a whole lot of attention. And it's not even specific for Ondo. The whole crypto space right now is not really getting a whole lot of love, because simply we do have right now at least better alternatives. For example, you can take a look at precious metal market. Maybe in the not so distant future, even a stock market is going to have a massive run. But at least based on what we are seeing in here, the crypto space seems to be actually lagging quite a lot. However, again, I do think the overall trend is going to change in the next coming months. But we really cannot deny the fact that in terms of tokenomics in Ondo, this right in here, increasing the circulating supply by about 70% is definitely a big problem. And again, at least in the short term, it is going to have its specific effects. Overall, in the long term, I'm not really sure if I'm worried about this, since in my view, we are going to get a lot of adoption, and that is going to offset these increases in circulating supply. So in the long term, in my opinion, not a big deal. However, in the short term, I'm not really sure about that. So for now, let's just have a quick conclusion and wrap up today's update. In my view, our move down in Ondo is actually unfortunately going to continue, and Elliott's wave boys seems like that we are going to have bare minimum. Again, pay attention, bare minimum, at least one more move on the downside. And when we get it, we are going to make new videos and talk about what might be the next likely move. And I hope I explained everything well and you understood what is going on in Ondo. And until the next update, I hope you have a wonderful time. Goodbye.